Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'd like, thank you all for tuning in to the show. As always, I got my crew with me, Darnell and Tyler. I'm Trey, and we are coming your way with the 96th edition of the Don't Kill the Messengers podcast. About to get right into it this week with some NCAA football. We got to talk about that great game that we just had this Monday for the national championship between Georgia and Alabama. Guys, what did y'all think about this game?
I mean, yet another in a line of strong title games. It didn't look like it was going to be, but it ended in dramatic fashion at the end. It was full of surprise. You had Georgia coming out early, swinging, getting the big lead, and then a quarterback change in the second half and the comeback. And then of course, it finishes with OT. Ask for it from a game like that.
Yeah. The thing I think I found, like, I don't want to say the most, but was Georgia, like, we all knew they were a good football team, but we didn't think that they would, like, physically dominate Alabama for 3 quarters like they did. At least I didn't. I mean, that Georgia, defensive front was fast and, big and played dominant. They were stopping the Alabama run. Jalen Hurts just couldn't get his arm going at all. Georgia's defense played, 3 quarters of championship football. The fourth quarter kind of snuck up on Georgia. I don't know if they were getting a little ahead of themselves, but Alabama definitely looked like the team that had been there before. Saban coached it like he had been there before. They're the egg that never cracks. So you can never count them out.
Well, I'll add what I got to say. Darnell, you got anything to add to that, man?
Well, I just also want to point out, of course, we also had in that game, pretty much the rise of the freshmen.
Yeah.
Of course, we had from Georgia playing the whole game, but he's played most of the season as a true freshman. But then you have backup quarterback. I'm just going to call him Tua, so I don't have to try to butcher that last name a bunch.
I like that.
Yeah.
and then Najee Harris, the 4-string running back, coming out and just looking like at the end of the game. And I believe the game-winning touchdown was also scored by a freshman receiver. So,
okay.
Coming from the perspective of looking at our young teams with Michigan and Michigan State, we still don't have that type of talent to be able to just throw freshmen in there to do that. That's just it was crazy to see.
Yeah, for sure. If I can just add one more thing, I guess, to the whole game, were you guys kind of surprised that Alabama wasn't able to pull off some sort of a trick play? I don't want to say like Alabama needed it, because they still won the game, but it always seems like in those high profile games, they get 1 or 2 plays in there that you don't see coming. Or look at the game against Clemson. They sent the defensive lineman out for a pass. They weren't able to fool Georgia, which is why I'm kind of surprised they gave it up late, because it's not like they were trying to fool Georgia. They just were making the plays.
Yeah. In the first half, I think Saban and probably the coordinators were quickly losing faith in to pull off something like that. They really couldn't depend on his arm, just because accuracy wasn't there, poise in the pocket wasn't there. So Saban just wanted to get to the half to see if they can make some adjustments, and did. And I guess I would dare to say putting 2 in and was a trick play in itself, just because Georgia didn't have anything for him. They were so prepared for Jalen Hurts, where the game plan was make him beat us throwing the ball, and So, he welcomed what they were doing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Now, just for me, man, some people, felt as if Alabama was going to blow this Georgia team out. I didn't really feel that way. If you guys recall last week, I asked you guys about Jalen Hurts. Can you trust him? I had him being my X factor for this Alabama football team in the national championship. I was very nervous for him in this game. I just felt as if Georgia was going to come out there and they was going to do a good job of just containing him. And then if they contain him, they were going to do a good job just containing that offense as a whole. So when they were just shutting him down, and just doing their thing, putting points on the board at the other end and stuff too, I just felt that they could just stop Jalen. They were going to be able to win this game. I still feel it inexcusable for them to lose. Just if you were in the championship game and you were up like they did, to just kind of fall stagnant, like they did. I still felt they should have won the game. Especially them bringing in a freshman QB during the second half to get the Alabama offense going and everything like that. I just believe Georgia should have done a better job with that. But, never count Nick Saban and Alabama football team out. But I was just nervous with Jalen Hurts just coming in, man. Just with his previous performances and stuff. I just knew that Kirby was going to have something in store for him. So I was not shocked at all. I know I had Alabama winning, but Georgia, I would have not been surprised at all if Georgia would have won that national championship for me.
And for 2.5 quarters, they look like clearly the better team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what do you guys, there was some people saying, Todd bringing up some missed calls in the football game, saying, they missed some, the referees missed some calls for Alabama's penalties and whatnot, and that's why Georgia lost and stuff. Like, what would you guys say to that?
I mean, of course, you want to, if you cheer for the team that lost, you look at some things. Yes, there were some missed calls. That the officiating wasn't great on either side, in my opinion. Most of the big ones that were missed that people thought about, sack to put Georgia in a 4th down situation where the tackler kind of shoved Frown back to the ground while he was getting up, like used him as basically people wanted a personal foul for that, but that was on the field. It probably wasn't quite as obvious as it was to us looking at it in HD. And, the kid wasn't actually just I don't think he was trying to taunt him. He was just excited because, and I'm pretty sure there's others that could have been called, but you have some of those in every game on both sides. Like I said, this crew wasn't particularly great reffing, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, and it's like you said, we see missed calls every game. We see it in HD. We see it in slow-mo about 10 times. So, I mean, of course we're going to see it. Game speed, with the naked eye, it's tough to catch it all. And, just the fact that, missed calls, it's like, hey, they happen to everybody. They happen in every game. We're never going to get a perfect ref. So continuing to blame the refs, even though it's the easy thing to do. And, it's just the easy thing to do. You think, oh, if that call was different, the game would be different. It's like, well, maybe not. We don't know. It's still a big what if, a lot of question marks. So, saying the refs, I mean, you may have a legitimate, discrepancy there because you do see the missed calls. And even though you're seeing it in slow motion, or even if you see it the first time, there's still a whole lot of what ifs and unknowns about what would have happened if the correct or a better call would have been made.
And the simple fact, you gotta look, there's multiple times where through that game where Georgia was up multiple touchdowns. Yeah, stop Alabama. When you get spotted, you get spotted that many points. It's kind of hard to blame your loss on the refs.
Yeah. So like I just said, man, I still, I'm happy Alabama won, but I really believe Georgia should have pulled through and won that game. Just how they had the momentum, and you got the freshmen coming in and just doing their thing and exposing that Georgia defense and everything. So, they can blame the refs all you want, but when you got a lead like that, man, and you got momentum coming into the half, that should have been a game for them to win. So. Now, got to talk a little bit more about Jalen Hurts, guys. What's his future looking like for next year? You think he's going to be on the bench, or you think Tua's going to get that starting job, or what?
Well, yeah. I mean, basically it's where you figure out how to play another position or start working on transfer papers.
Yes.
Those are Jalen Hurts' options right there. I know Nick Saban said it's going to be a quarterback competition next year. I don't see how he comes back from this. He, as good as he's been and as much as he's meant to that team, I think his record as a starter is 25-2. He played well enough to win, but you had the amazing last drive from Deshaun Watson in the ball club, so he didn't pull it out there. But this one, he had it, and he can make any throw on the field. He has some legs too if he needs to run a little bit. I don't see how you go back to him after this.
There would have to. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I was about to say it, man, but Darnell got to kind of play devil's advocate. It was Jalen Hurts that led that team to the championship. So
I guess I gave him his credit. He did a lot for the team, and like I said, he played well enough to win last year's title game. But he time great college quarterback, and but I mean we all know just sports is you don't get lifetime achievement starting jobs.
Yeah, sure.
If somebody shows that they're the better player, you sorry, that's what happens. Drew Bledsoe, how it feels to get replaced by Tom Brady.
Yeah, he's probably just happy Tom Brady turned into what he did.
Yeah.
But we've been saying it about Jalen Hurts all year, though. He hasn't really been making the throws, so it's not like we're surprised he gets to this point. He can't.
And two, man, that wide open touchdown that he had, I forgot who he threw it to, but I think it was the first quarter where dude was wide open in the end zone. He just overthrew the guy.
Yeah.
That was awful, man. But
so game straight where him not being able to put the touch on the ball cost him 6.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm right in line with you, Darnell. And you too, Trey. I mean, just the fact that you're not performing when you're needed to, and make a switch, someone else performs, you go with it. There would have to be something pretty significant that happens in the offseason for Jalen Hurts to start the season, I guess, whether it's an injury or he just all of a sudden finds it into the fall. But I think Alabama's got someone for the next or 2, I guess, depending.
Yeah. Now, guys, how do you think this national championship game between Alabama and Georgia could kind of compare to the last two? Because Alabama's been in some classic games in this playoff so far for the championship. You had the 2 with Clemson that were classics, and this was a good game as well. Just how do you think this game compared to those 2?
It's just about as good as last year's game. Okay. I think it's clearly better than the game 2 years ago. I guess it just depends on how you want to look at last last year's game versus this year's. Both of them were to games. Last year's game was more of these are two titans going at it, where it was close the whole game, and they were. This one was huge just because of the big comeback. Like how the Super Bowl was last year.
Mm-hmm.
You have a team come out on all cylinders, jump out to a big lead, and then you have the veteran squad that's used to those championship situations stay calm and walking them down. And this game was kind of like what you would see in some Disney movie or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think I would put this one ahead of last year's game just because whenever you hit overtime, you get, just that level of suspense and thrill that you do, even if it comes down to the final second. There's just something about overtime. You had the missed field goal, so it was already a very moment, and it's not like Georgia was taking or Alabama was taking a knee on their own 15 to send it to overtime. Like, we had a play to win the game, and a missed, and then we're going to overtime with, now you literally can't afford to do anything wrong. I also really liked and I guess I don't really know the right word for it, but I just liked the sequence that happened. A 16-yard sack that leads to a 41-yard touchdown pass. Like, you see a 16-yard sack, and you're thinking, all right, get in field goal position here, just tie it up. And they went for the home run and nailed it.
Yep, very next play.
Oh yeah, and because I was expecting, hit up double overtime, start with the ball, go for your touchdown there.
But that's the thing, though.
I know.
Could you trust that kicker?
No,
ready.
Not after that.
Yeah.
But just it always seems to be. At least over the last handful of years for just the national championship in general, it just always tends to be, just awesome. Like, I don't know any other word to describe it. Like, you watch this game and you just think, great comeback, great finish. You look at last year's game, great finish. Year before, you just get a really good game out of Alabama that was just enjoyable to watch. It never fails to the end.
Yeah. Now, Alabama, they aren't going to be the only team raising a national championship banner. We got Central Florida; they're doing the same thing. They went undefeated this year. Just what are your thoughts on them raising that national championship banner, guys?
I mean, if it makes the kids and the faculty and students at Central Florida happy, go for it. It's not some unusual to happen in college football. I mean, we haven't had this happen in quite a long time since all started recognizing AP and coaches polls for titles, and then to the BCS, and now we actually have a playoff. But they feel they got left out and they're undefeated. But it's odd, but go for it if that's you take that participation trophy.
Yeah, I think the weird thing about it, not the city started a petition. It's not like the fans started chanting national champs. Like, we're self-proclaiming it right now. Like, we are national champions. And I think that's the thing that let's slow our roll here, and just watching them give this like self-proclaimed title to themselves as they like say it out of it. It's kind of like where that everybody watched the actual title game on TV. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, like you said, if that's what they want to do to make themselves happy, if they want an actual shot at it, go to the ACC or the SEC. Like, nuts and bolts. You can't be in, what is it, conference, the American Conference or whatever they're in. You just can't be there and play for the national championship. Just the facts. So sucks to suck, but you got to be in one of the Power Five in order to do anything national championship related.
Yeah, I can agree with you guys. I will just say this. I don't have a problem with them raising a banner at all. Just if it's a chance to for them to just bring their college community together and just have some fun, I don't have a problem with it whatsoever. But we'll say this: the team, people were questioning this team's strength of schedule and whatnot, and their conference and everything like that. Either way, they went out there and handled business. Made it to the bowl game. They played Auburn. This was a team, Auburn. They beat the two best teams in college football in Alabama and Georgia. Yep. They got to win against them this year. So either way, I just hope that this will kind of add some more fuel to the fire for them to possibly expand the college playoff a little more. I think that'll be just good overall for just teams like Central Florida or, we had a Big Ten team miss out as well this year for possibly being in there. So they just add fuel to the fire. Hopefully they can expand the playoff. So something like this won't happen again. I think the fans wouldn't mind that at all, and these college teams wouldn't mind it as well. And plus the NCAA will be getting some more money out of it. So.
In my opinion, it's why 6 teams work. You get all Power 5, then you give that 6th spot to the
5.
Yeah, to that top non-Power 5 team, especially when they're undefeated like that. I think that's why 6 is the number.
Yeah, that'll be good.
And then, however the seeding gets, I think the non-Power 5 team automatically gets the 6th seed, but how you want to shape out up to the committees. So.
Yeah.
I'm all right with that.
Yeah. All right, guys. Now we got a long way until college football starts back up. But just what are some teams that are on your radar for next year? What are your expectations for your teams as well?
Outside of the teams that we just saw play this great game, because I think both of them will be pretty much still loaded.
Yeah.
Based on how many freshmen were just out there playing. I think teams that everybody will still have to try to reckon with. I'm interested to see how Clemson bounces back from this. Mm-hmm. See what they can do next year, because I think there'll probably be some drop off on that defense. And looking over to the Big Ten, I want to see.
Just real quick, what year is their Clemson's quarterback?
He's a junior, I think.
Oh, he's a junior. Okay. Okay.
I don't think he was good enough to go out.
Okay.
Though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
And I really don't know the makeup of UCF's team. So, if they can get enough from the put them somewhere in the top 25 to start the year, and if they can go undefeated again, maybe they are that shocker that can sneak in next year.
Yeah.
And then I guess as far as our teams go, I think State, they finished at number 15. They got 10 wins this season. I think the goal now is to truly compete for a Big Ten title game and maybe be in the hunt. Consideration for the playoff, though, I don't think they'll be quite there yet. I don't think the talent is quite there.
Yeah, I'll start with Michigan, I guess. They just need to be better than 8-4 next year. With what they have coming back, they need to figure out the quarterback position. I think if they could figure out the quarterback position, that team's going to be just fine. Within 8-4, I think 9-3 needs bad season for them. Yeah, I just think it's all about that quarterback position. So I like where they're at. I mean, I think that defense is still going to be good. The offense should, when you get a full off season, you should be able to piece it together by then. So, but we'll wait and see. But other teams, I'm kind of excited to watch next year. Kind of have my eye on UCLA with Kelly coming in. I think they'll be an interesting team to watch. See if they, go back to that fast tempo spread that Chip Kelly liked up in Oregon, or if they decide to go something different. I'll also be interested to watch Oklahoma Baker Mayfield, see what happens with them, who they have replacing him at quarterback. That'll be, pretty much, unless you follow Oklahoma basketball, you're going to have no clue who's going to be taking snaps next year. And then I think another one's going to be, honestly, for me, Wisconsin to still just dominate that Big Ten West and get into the Big Ten championship game, undefeated or one loss. Can they? Because Wisconsin all season was kind of that, the team that didn't get the respect. And I mean, you lose your national or you lose your conference title game, you're probably not getting in the playoffs. So, I still think Wisconsin's always going to be that interesting team to watch. They just got a real solid program going. So, Wisconsin would just kind of be a third one that I could think of right off the top of my head.
Yeah. All right, guys. Like I just said, we still got a long way for college football to get back up, man. But just looking at week 1 that we will have coming in for next year, we got a lot of good games just to start it off. Some include Michigan, Notre Dame, Alabama versus Louisville, LSU at Miami, I believe. And I think, let's see, USC at Texas, Auburn versus Washington. Got some good games going to be starting out for week 1 for next year. So, guys, what do you think about that?
I mean, it's something that basically college football always does pretty well. They get a lot of marquee games in there that first week. Alabama, Louisville, I'm not sure how great that one will be because Louisville will have lost their mainstay quarterback.
Yeah, that one, I'm kind of nervous about that one as well, just because, you kind of look at the history of Alabama under Nick Saban, they kind of struggled with mobile quarterbacks. I don't know who will be replacing Lamar, but I would have loved to seen him just go against the Alabama defense just to see how Alabama would try to stop him being mobile and whatnot. So,
but I mean, I think one of the more marquee ones will probably be that Michigan Notre Dame game, because that'll be in with championship type expectations for themselves, especially what they have returned and how they represented themselves this year. Notre Dame having a similar turnaround to what Michigan State did, and Michigan underachieving a little bit, but still showing that there's some talent there. I know that their quarterback situation will probably be the talk of the spring and fall. But I think that one will be good, and could be eliminating somebody from playoff 1. But I think that's probably the main game I'm looking forward to. But I mean, the others you mentioned should be fun as well. I mean, USC, Texas, they played some fun games early anyway, and it'll get lots of clips to that Rose Bowl with Vince Young, Reggie Bush, and Matt Leinart all playing in it, and then LSU Miami. See if that can bounce back from Wisconsin and get the turnover chain going again.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think Michigan Notre Dame is the one based on, like Darnell said, the expectation of each team. To that game being week 1, you play off, you can still get in your conference. Well, I guess Notre Dame doesn't have to worry about a conference championship, but it won't hurt Michigan in terms of the Big Ten. it'll hurt them nationally, but you can lose your first game of the season and still get in the playoffs. So, Alabama even showed you can you can lose your last game and get in the playoff. But, I just think that, if you lose game one, you're not out of it. You just have to show why you belong for the, next 11 games. But it'll be a good one to start. Should be a fun game. And, definitely looking forward to two good programs.
Yeah. Just real quick, how did you guys do with your signing? You guys get some good players for next year?
I don't even really know, to be honest with you. It doesn't really matter.
Sure.
As far as the recruiting sites go, is one of state's. It's probably the best ranking they've ever had. I think they got like the 25th best class.
Okay.
And 20 kids. Backfilled a lot of. We might be losing talent this year, so on paper it looks fine. But yeah, like Ty said, these are kids based on their high school performance. We don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one player I can at least say something about, at least in terms of Michigan, where it looks like they need help the most right now. To be fair, we still don't know about Dylan McCaffrey. I think it's pretty clear that Brandon Peters is the guy. So we don't know what Dylan McCaffrey is going to bring, but they did sign Joe Milton, who's one of the top pro-style quarterbacks. Maybe see what he can do. At least, there's some promise. Tape looks good, but, like Darnell said, when you're signing with a D1 college, especially Power 5 D1 college, you were walking over everybody in high school. So,
yeah,
I don't think there's really too much you can base off a high school tape.
Yeah. All right, guys. Anything else to add for NCAA football before we move on?
Sad it's over.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll just say too, man, it was just cool to see the just Ridley brothers in a championship game. I didn't know about I think it was Riley, I think his first name.
Riley,
yeah.
Yep.
I did know anything about him till the game started. They mentioned that they were brothers, man. He had a fantastic game. So it was just cool just seeing them both going out there, man, giving it their all, and just kind of just see how just see them just showing each other love after the game and stuff like that. It was just that it was a great experience for the both of them. So
for sure.
All right, now we're about to touch on some college basketball. We have a matchup between University of Michigan and Michigan State happening this weekend. Guys, just touch on your two squads. What are your expectations for this matchup?
Expectation, pain.
Death.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is one that, it's a rivalry game. So, I expect my team to be Izzo to have them ready, especially with the last two stinkers they've had, dropping the game to Ohio State where they couldn't get anything to go, and playing in overtime against Rutgers right now. So I'm not sure if they were looking ahead to this game or something, but they definitely have to get mentally settled in and then get back to the basketball they've been playing up until.
Yeah, the game's interesting. Do not like Michigan in this matchup. Michigan always plays better at home. So, they almost beat Purdue last night. They had a shot to win the game in not overtime. That was regulation. But if Michigan can hit the three ball, they can hang with anybody. They're going to get physically dominated down low. They can't size up with Michigan State. Where Michigan will, if I have to hit the three, they'll need some help, and they'll have to figure out a way to rebound. And I've never been excited about Michigan's rebounding ability, and they just don't match up well with a lot of teams that play, three bigs. So it could be a rough one for Michigan, or it could be a decent one. I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan loses by 10 plus because it's on the road, but we'll see, I guess.
All right. Now just overall, besides this game, just what other games are you guys going to be checking out this week?
Oh, I mean, a lot of the better games kind of happened earlier this week, and I mean, you have going right now, which is a solid game. It was a solid matchup on paper. Villanova seems to be kind of right now. But let me pull up the schedule here.
Here, I got some.
Okay. I got it right here. TCU is kind of a surprising basketball program right now. I mean, ranks Trae Young in Oklahoma. Although I'm kind of upset that they keep throwing Oklahoma on ESPNU. Like, Trae Young needs some TV time.
You would think
not a lot of people. I know that.
That guy is fun to watch, man.
Yeah, he's a solid player. He killed it in the second half the other night against Texas Tech. He had 5 of 26 or something like that. Solid performance from him. And then speaking of Texas Tech, they play West Virginia this weekend on Saturday. West Virginia's up number 2 as of now. Texas Tech still top 10 team, playing really good. So that should be fun. Another ranked matchup we're looking at is Miami versus Clemson, but that's just not a compelling matchup for anybody. So yeah, but I mean there are some good games, some good matchups, things of the like. So could be a good weekend.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Just real quick, since Ohio State beat Michigan State, how is this Ohio State team? You think that was kind of like a fluke, or you think there's something somebody be taking serious?
I won't say it's a fluke.
Okay,
for sure. But it's one of those types of games where they just were not going to be denied. They were sometimes a team has those games where they're just making everything they put up.
Yeah.
In no way would I say that they're a garbage team that just got lucky or something like that. They can play.
Yeah, and I texted you guys when it happened. I said, hey, they came back from 20 down to beat Michigan. So I won't be shocked if they end up with a really good home record this year. Road, they're good enough to make the tournament.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. Anything else to add for NCAA basketball? Okay. Now we're about to touch on the NFL. Got the playoffs going on. Before we touch on this week's playoff games, just what are you guys' overall thoughts on last week's playoff games?
Dull, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing too thrilling.
The games were played. I mean, some of them were okay. Some were to watch, but I mean,
what about that Tennessee comeback, man?
That was definitely fun to watch. That it was rough seeing Kansas City just kind of disintegrate and blow that lead, but I mean that was a good game. Carolina was competitive, which we expected. This is a division game, and it showed. Drew Brees is still Drew Brees, so he was ridiculous there. Atlanta kind of shut down the Rams, and then
were you guys? Just real quick, were you guys kind of shocked that the Rams lost that one, or?
Not shocked. The Falcons have a very good crew of linebackers, and their game plan was to force Jared Goff to beat them, which is probably the correct way to play the Rams. It showed to be the correct way to play them, and they couldn't get their run game going or passes in the flats to the running back. So, shocked by that. Atlanta's defense is respectable, and Matt Ryan actually kind of stepped up and played all right. So,
yeah, I mean it helps that Julio Jones was creating a lot for himself, But that's the thing. You get the ball in his hands to need him to do. That's what you want him to do. That's what you expect him to do. So I don't think you can be like, oh well, he just has Julio Jones. That's kind of the point. He has Julio Jones. So but yeah, I'm right in line with Darnell. So I won't even say a whole lot more, at least on that game.
And Buffalo Jacksonville was basically NyQuil on your television.
That was exactly what you thought that game was going to be. Blake Bortles versus Tyrod Taylor. Yeah. Two teams that pride themselves on defense and are an Amber Alert on.
All right, guys, we'll just focus on this week then. We got Atlanta and Philly, Tennessee and New England, Jacksonville and Pittsburgh, and New Orleans and Minnesota. We could just break them down one by one. Start with just Atlanta versus Atlanta versus Philadelphia. Thoughts on that game, guys?
That was an interesting one because, the number one seed in the NFC underdog in this game. Carson Wentz is out, of course, so you got up to play, and they haven't looked like the same team with Foles in. So, is here. I just think if I'm taking either Matt Ryan or I don't think this. Oh, looks like we lost Ty.
Yeah. I still think Atlanta's. I didn't pick them to make it to the Super Bowl. I know Trey, you did, but I still think they're one of the more complete teams in the playoffs. Darnell mentioned, Carson Wentz is in. That just leaves a really big question mark. He had, a big week, the first week after, Wentz went out, but then he kind of did it. And, I actually like Atlanta in this game. I like them. I think, the running back tandem of, Freeman and Coleman can do some serious damage no matter what defense they're playing. I actually think Devontae Freeman, for all intents and purposes, he's the poor man's Todd Gurley, but that far behind Todd Gurley, like we kind of make him out to be. He's a do-it-all back, and, I think he'll have a pretty good game here. Where I think this game could get real interesting is, if Matt Ryan just can't get it going. Is he going to struggle or is he going to step up? And I think that's going to be, one of the key factors here. Obviously Nick Foles as well. He has to produce, at least for Philly, it's going to be a home game as, they'll have home throughout the, to the NFC. So, I think this is, the story of the quarterbacks. Who are we going to get?
All right, up next, what about Tennessee versus the Patriots?
I'll make this one short and sweet. For some reason, the Patriots the Tennessee, a couple of their defensive players have started talking trash, like really was giving them a shot in this game anyway, but they're really throw shots at the Patriots, so I don't think this one's going to be pretty. New England probably goes and mops them up pretty quickly.
All right. Feeling the same way, Ty?
Yeah. I think this one could very easily be over at halftime. DeMarco Murray's out again. Not that he would have been the difference maker or anything, but I mean, Derrick Henry's actually outplayed him multiple times this season, so they just need to go with Derrick Henry and get rid of DeMarco Murray. But if that's something they can start talking about on Sunday.
Yep.
All right, Jacksonville versus Pittsburgh.
This one's weird. I mean, I got Pittsburgh. Defense can make things very ugly for anybody. I think, of course, Pittsburgh offense is way more capable than the Bills were last week. They just have they have too many weapons to be held to 3 points. But it could be an interesting game. Just the Jags have Blake Bortles. So if Pittsburgh can do anything to slow down Leonard Fournette, this game is going to be over at that point.
Yeah. If we're going to see an upset, it's going to be here. Jacksonville's defense could cause fits. Ben Roethlisberger has not been, what was the Super Bowl 41 Ben Roethlisberger for a while. So if Jacksonville's defense can play to the potential that they've played at this year, I wouldn't be surprised if this is somehow a game in the fourth quarter. I'm not saying Blake Bortles is going to light it up, but they may be able to sneak a few touchdowns. But Pittsburgh stops Leonard Fournette, I think they'll be just fine. Just like Darnell said, I'm interested to see what the health of Antonio Brown looks like. Is he going to be kind of babying the ankle, I believe it is, or is he going to be good to go? Are they going to limit him at all? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's somehow 20-something points in the fourth. We don't see him on the field just so he can continue to get rest. But, I think Antonio Brown's health is going to be what we're hearing about pre-game and at least during the first quarter.
Full going practice this week, so.
Yeah, and that's all we can go by. So until I guess we see it on the field, we won't know. So I mean, I'm not doubting he is, but it's also the playoffs, so you're going to be a go for your if you can be.
All right, last game we have NOLA versus Minnesota. I know you guys. I think last week both of you guys said that you have New Orleans going to the Super Bowl. Minnesota's favored -5 in this one. What do you guys think about this matchup?
I mean, it's a tough one. Minnesota's been that quiet, very good team all year. Defense and just reasonably solid offense. They nowhere on the team where you just say they're a complete liability in some area. It's like the way this New Orleans Saints team has been rolling. Shown last week he could still put the team on his back when Ingram and Kamara aren't going. Most part, they usually can get those running backs going, which I'm pretty sure they'll try to do again this week. Have some play action to open up the backfield of defense, and I think New Orleans wins this game, even though they are.
Yeah, I think. Of course, picked New Orleans, so I'm sticking with it. Is the Saints coaching staff gonna, call it a really good game for Drew Brees? I mean, they usually do. Like last week we saw, a super long touchdown pass to Ted Ginn Jr. We're seeing they're going to the security blanket of Michael Thomas. Alvin Kamara couldn't really get it going. Mark Ingram couldn't really get it going, but Drew Brees was on point. Are they going to have to balance balance here because, I think it's obvious that New Orleans is a full throttle offense. They literally have everything you could ask for. Elite quarterback, a top, I don't want to make stretches here, and for the sake of an argument, I'm just going to say they have a top 10 wide receiver, and they have in running backs. So they have every defense, but I still think they'll need to find a better balance. Carolina's defense is good, but this Minnesota defense is a step above that. They're going to have to find a way to get every unpredictable. I don't think they'll be able to rely on Drew Brees' arm this game. I'm not saying he won't be able to make plays, but they need to figure out something with that run game. If they want a good shot here, when you want to win on the road, you have to control the ball, and that's going to be with those running backs. So, I wonder if, they're going to look at tape from last week and try and maybe drop a couple new blocking schemes or something, but they run game going, and I'm sure the coaching staff knows that. I'm sure, but I think the game for New Orleans can be the difference here.
All right. Okay, guys. Anything else to add for NFL or NCAA football or anything?
No. Just get me back to the sports. Get the games on.
Yeah. Midweek sucks.
Yeah.
Until college basketball, at least until college basketball really gets their good games going midweek.
Yeah. Should be happening soon. So.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, guys. As always, I appreciate y'all for checking us out. You can find this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, SoundCloud. Just hit us up in that search engine. Also, feel free to check us out on Twitter at DKM_cast. Be talking about some stuff on there as well. So like I said, I appreciate y'all for checking us out, and we'll catch y'all on the next episode. Peace.